Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Are you all ready for another week? As we started off with the Funky Bunch at Sunday Brunch Podcast. So for those of you who watched or listened to last week's podcast, I said we'd be talking about the Final Fantasy VII remake today. I decided to hold that off until next week or the week after so that one, I could actually finish it, and two, other people could actually finish it so that they all know what the hell is going on with the game. And don't want to give spoilers or really talk about what's added, what's not, without other people knowing, so that's gonna go on hold for a little bit. Week or two, who really knows? But instead, as requested by the Mankeys, I'm going to talk about just kind of video games in general. He wanted to know my opinions on, where it's going to go from here and just keep expanding. I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to just kind of talk about video games in my past, and how I've seen it all change throughout, throughout my lifetime. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. So, you'll also learn, for those of you who don't already know, that I have a horrific memory. So, I will probably retell you guys things because I don't remember what I've talked about before. Feel free to call me out. I don't really care. I know I have a horrible memory. So, my past with video games, I started with an NES. My parents got an NES as a joke wedding gift. If it was me, that would not be a joke wedding gift because, hell yes, video games. But, I had that NES, and I remember playing the classic Mario and Duck Hunt very, very, very early on in my life. I don't know what actually happened to that NES. My parents say it broke. I don't believe them. Because I have old Nintendo things now, and those things don't break. So, I think they got rid of it because I just did a lot of video gaming as a child. Which doesn't really make sense because after that NES, I got the old retro Game Boy, the gray brick. So, I don't really know. But anyway, like I said, the first system I had was Nintendo. It was the NES, followed immediately by the Game Boy, the thick boy, followed then by, obviously, the Game Boy, after the Brick Boy, it became a regular Game Boy. And those things, it required light on it. Like, just that fact, the fact that you had a handheld console in your hands with a Game Boy was, at the time, awesome. Because my grandma used to have this small little, retro arcade style games where you could play. It was just one stupid game, like a racing game with very, very, very minimal graphics. There was a Star Wars one where you're in a TIE fighter shooting asteroids or rebels. The things with very minimal really very minimal things. Like you could actually see on the little handheld where all the lights could light up, and then certain lights would light up, and that's where you had to either shoot or whatever before it hit you. All the games were kind of the same. They just kind of got rebranded as different things, but they were all the same. But I think that was the first handheld, because then Nintendo came out with the Game Boy, and that, it required a light on it or else you couldn't see. There was no backlight lighting up the entire Game Boy or anything. So you kind of had to adapt, which was a problem because anytime, my family would go visit my grandparents who live like an hour north of us, or we went on vacation, I could only play Game Boy during the day because you had no light. And that's when Nintendo accessories started. You could get a Nintendo add-on that was literally a light. You'd plug it in and it'd come up and above and shine a light directly down on it, using its own battery source as the light. So you'd obviously drain your battery faster, but you could play it at night. So it's just amazing that we can go from that handheld brick that you could never, light up or anything, to the 3DS, which has actual 3D capability, which was cool, and then I disabled it because and now you have a literal console, the Switch, that can go as both a handheld gaming device and an actual console with console graphics on both. But I mean, if you're going to talk about video games and how they've changed, you can't just focus on one. I mean, you have to go to the ultra mega gaming system, and that would be the PC. We've gone from, requiring PCs the size of an apartment to computate 2 plus 2 to a phone that's more powerful than, some of the first rocket ships. This cellular device has more computing power than some of the first rockets. Doesn't that just seem amazing? Technology is amazing. We can go into that on another date if I remember and I have enough information. But that really kind of just, if you really think about that, it opens so many doors. But anyway, yeah, and then obviously you've also got, the Xbox system. You got that huge, chunky brick of an Xbox. It evolved into the very glitchy and broken 360 with the red ring of death. And then you've got the Xbox One, which I've never actually seen an Xbox. Have I seen an Xbox One? I don't think I've seen an Xbox One. I obviously don't own one because I don't remember if I've seen one. But yeah, I mean, the design of things have just gone from chunky, huge, loud, doesn't work very well, to just streamlined, smooth, and expensive. And of course, we've got the PlayStation. You have the old PlayStation 1 where you push a button on the top, it pops open, you put the disc in, you close the top. Nice, clunky, chunky. The PS2, chunky. PS3, I don't remember what a PS3 looks. PS4, still kind of chunky. But it's sleeker, quieter, runs smoother. It's just watching the progression. Honestly, if you ever have time, look for some videos on YouTube that's usually labeled like 20 years of gaming, or 20 years of Xbox, 20 years of PlayStation, 20 years of Nintendo, and you can just watch the graphics. In fact, actually one of the best ways to see it would be watching a comparison video of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is the best way of seeing just how different things have changed in like 20 years. You've got the polygonal characters into just these super realistic models. It's just amazing what we can do, and what we have done, and what we will continue to do. So I guess one of the first questions I'll answer was, what would I like to see with video games? And I'm going to expand on that. What would I like to see change? What would I like to see them not do? We'll start with Nintendo. I get that they're all about innovation, but they gotta cool it a little bit. The 3D was cool, but ultimately pointless, and they've dropped it. which made things more expensive and come out later and kind of pissed off a lot of developers because they're like, well, we don't want to develop this if it's not going to be successful. So things held off for a long time. 3DS didn't get very many good games, and then it gets dropped. The Wii, with the nunchucks and everything, it's like, that's cool and all, but it's not as easy to play. Like, for instance, if I wanted to stream it, that takes extra setup to get the Wii bar set up, and, I don't have a lot of room to move, and it doesn't really account for the people who don't have a huge range of motion. Like, there's a friend of the family who only has one arm, and she can't play the Wii. Some games, if it requires, both controllers. Like, there are speedrunners who can speedrun games with, like, one hand and a full regular controller. That's no problem. They've adapted. But it's kind of hard to do that when you're required to be able to move your right arm and then, move your left arm and all that. It kind of restricts things. Like, and I'll admit the Wii U and the Switch, it's kind of weird having a handheld in your hands. But it's also kind of interesting how they're doing it. So I'd like to see some of their innovation, to see how they keep pushing their technology and everything to make it sleeker, smaller. I have to say the Switch is probably the smallest console I own. Yeah, it definitely is. That thing's tiny. Actually, if I got the Switch Lite, that'd be the tiniest because I wouldn't have the dock. Yeah. Xbox and PlayStation, the only thing I'd like to see them do is something that Nintendo has been very good at, is really opening up the ability to play your old games. Backwards compatibility. That's something that Xbox and PlayStation have struggled with. You can't play, regular Xbox games in your Xbox One. You can't play PS1, PS2, PS3 games in your PS4. I heard that's something that's coming with, the next Xbox and the next PlayStation. But if it actually happens, I don't know. I like playing my old games. I've got shelves of old games over there. And I just like to see the ability to continue playing things. Just having that option has always been nice. That's why I like collecting physical copies of things. That's why I always opt to get a physical copy if I can. It's just, I like having it. I like holding it. It's just nice to me. But yeah. I also think that Sony and Xbox need to stop competing against each other, because the people who are going to buy the next Xbox are going to buy a next Xbox. People are going to buy the next PlayStation. What they need to be competing against is prices. We all know they can sell it cheaper. They can do everything cheaper. That's the problem. People wait for the prices to go down. Like, I'm not going to go right out and buy the brand new Xbox the moment it comes out. I'm going to wait until it's cheaper, which means I have to wait an entire generation. Exactly, Blast. It's one of those, it's like, what the hell? I don't want to get this now when it's $400. I want to get it when it's actually affordable and worth its price. And we know they're making like 200% profit on it. So, bro, you're going to get that same profit margin if you just drop the price immediately. You'll get it faster. It'll also put people in your good graces, because people are like, well, I don't want to drop another $500 on an Xbox. Oh, absolutely. Blastastics. Backwards compatibility is just... They said, at least for the PlayStation 5, I read that they're planning on backwards compatibility somehow. All your old games. You should be able to play it. Supposedly. I know. Like, if they actually do it, though, that'll be one of the huge things that push for me buying it sooner. But the question would be, what about any of my games I downloaded onto my PlayStation? Can I, transfer those games over? Do I have to buy a stupidly expensive PSN for a month just to transfer my games over? It's just, there's a lot of questions open. It's like, look at Nintendo. For $20, you can have an entire year of online subscription. $20. 12 months online. Switch over to Xbox and PlayStation. $20 gets you like 3. No, it's 4. $5 a month. But still, like, who's gonna pay $60 a year for online where you're already paying $60 plus for internet? It's like, that's why a lot of people play PC too. It's like, well, if I want to play with my friends, might as well play on PC. I don't have to pay extra. And another thing, crossplay. You're not hurting yourself opening up crossplay with everybody else. You're hurting yourself by saying no, because it's like, well, I own a PlayStation, all my friends own an Xbox. Guess we'll go buy it on PC. Right? The dream. It really would be, though, the dream. Just being able to... Like, I get it. You want to play the online because, it's a good revenue source for the people who play online and it supports your servers. I get that. But if you're going to do that, allow us to play with the people we want, Let me play Borderlands 3 with my PC friends. That is absolutely why Fortnite was successful, Blast. It's because you could play with anyone, anywhere. Yeah. Heck, I can't even play with my friends who have Overwatch because I have 3 friends who have it on PC. I've got several friends who have it on PlayStation. I can't play with those friends with PlayStation. I can only play with my friends on PC. Like, I get some of the concern, which is if you're playing a competitive game, people with a PC do have a distinct advantage. You've got better aim, you've got better hardware, sometimes. Sometimes you have worse hardware, but... So don't put them in competitive. Keep competitive within your own area, but you can still play with other people. There's so many options available to allow that cross-platform without focusing in on that. Oh, I'm sure. Well, there's also a lot of things that consoles give you that PC does not. Like, there is auto aim. There's a little bit of auto aim even if you have auto aim off. It does assist you in that way to give you that extra layer of finite control. Oh, I know PC's better than auto aim. I'm just saying they give you a little bit of auto aim just to help you to begin with. I mean, it does screw me over sometimes too. Because they're trying to help, but then you don't expect it to help, so you overcompensate and you miss. I shot and I missed. And then I shot again and I missed again. That's basically me in any game. But, it's just... You take it as it goes. You target the dude behind him. That's also very true. But that's when you actually have, like, a pretty hard auto aim. The auto aim's not supposed to do that big of an adjustment. It's just supposed to lock onto the target you're looking at. So unless you were not aiming at him to begin with and were slowly creeping onto it, I don't see it happening that bad. Except for if you actually have that full auto aim on. Well, yeah, that's definitely something that I think consoles would make them super successful. It's why actually a lot of the games I try to buy on PC is because most of my friends are on PC now. And I want to, if I want to play things with them, I want to get it. That's why I hate the fact that I have Borderlands 3 on the PlayStation 4. It's because my PC's not good enough right now to run and stream it. And I didn't want to wait. Like, I will buy Borderlands 3 on PC when I upgrade my PC. That's a fact. I own Borderlands 1 on 360. I own Borderlands 2 on 360. I own all the DLC for Borderlands 1 and 2 on 360. I also own them both on PC. I do have the option to play with one person. I have one person who has it. But I don't want to pay for PSN. Right. But then, of course, there's also the fact that, PC components are stupidly expensive to build a good PC to be able to play these console games without lag, without issues. Like I said before, I can't even play Dishonored 2 on my PC. I have a good PC. I just don't have the best. But I can't play Dishonored 2 because I think it's processing. I don't think my CPU is good enough. That plus graphics, it really glitches the game out. And it breaks. I think I have a good screenshot of when I first tried to play it, of it breaking. It's, I break a lot of things. But, where do I think technology is going, video games are going to go? So, if you pay, your laptop is close to dying. Yeah, I mean, I've got a laptop from when I entered college. This baby was where I played Payday 2 and Gmod for years. Couldn't stream worth shit from it. I could barely play Payday 2 in it. When I switched from this laptop to my PC, I turned everything onto Ultra and I'm like, this is a brand new game. And then I turned it off because it lagged my game. But I could play it. Anyway, where I think technology is going to go for video games. So, for some of you who don't actually know, remember those old Captcha things where it's like, oh, to make sure you're not a robot, please enter these words into this box. And it'd have like 2 random words in different font sizes and everything. So the entire reason they started those, and the reason it's not around anymore, is because they were using people to crowdsource the translation of old texts, like newspapers and things that computers couldn't auto-detect what the words were. So they were using people to translate those words and help the computer learn how to read it. And we do that for several other things. Like in Borderlands 3 right now, there's the science station where you play a mini game. There's several mini games similar to this out there, but what it's doing is it's mapping like genomes. It's looking at how different a lot of it's mapping DNA and other things, but it's also looking at how effective some things will be against other things with medicine and other things. So absolutely, any kind of surveys to help technology grow. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that, they're using gamers and technology users just to enhance what we currently have. And I think that's going to continue as we go further and further. As you know, the Air Force uses unmanned drones. Funny fact, I found out they hate it when they're referred to as gamers. Because they fly those drones using, I think it's an Xbox 360 controller. And they hate being referred to as gamers. But, they use, controllers to fly those unmanned drones. Doctors, dentists, surgeons use robotic arms from far away to perform delicate surgeries and operations. I think what they're going to do eventually is we're going to. I know this is supposed to be about video games, but it's going to end up about technology. So I'm going to go on the technology aspect. Eventually, we're going to be at a place where you don't have to leave your home. And I think this virus right here, the COVID-19, is going to be the first huge step for that. What with everything being telework now, for jobs that actually require you to be out and about, we're eventually going to have robots of some sort. I know, Wally. Yeah, that's that's going to be us. But even more so, there was a movie. I don't remember what it's called. If somebody wants to look it up, the movie was... It was kind of like a battle royale-esque movie in which a bunch of criminals are put into a war zone and they have to fight against each other. However, they're wired. Like, they have an implant inside of them that rich people get to pay to play as that character, and they basically take over that person's body and they try to win. Does that sound familiar at all to anybody? But the premise was, these gamers got to play a realistic battle royale using people who were all criminals to be killed. Gamer something or other. Right, Mankies? But what I think is going to happen is that they're going to use gamers first for that, is to... after VR, we're going to get some sort of actual AR. So instead of just sitting here with the goggles on and interacting with things, we're actually going to be able to plug in somehow. This is still probably 10 to 20 years away, but we'll be able to probably plug into something and either... Oh, it's just called Gamer. Interesting. Nice. Thank you, Mankies. But you'll be able to plug in and either, go into this alternate reality, AR, or how I think it'll actually happen. Actually, really similar to Ready Player One, actually. That alternate reality where, work is conducted there, schooling is conducted there, but also what I think in the real world could happen. Oh, yeah, no, not the 2000 movie Battle Royale. But what I think could also be a good thing is you have essentially robots created, and for every new employee, you jack in from home, and then you are that robot, and then you can, work without being tired. Everyone has the same capabilities. It's just a different person controlling it. I think that's how technology is going to go. The ability to, jack in and either have that alternate reality or just the ability for work to be conducted through robots that you're physically controlling. Which has several interesting implications. But I would honestly love to be able to, jack into my favorite game. Imagine being able to play Final Fantasy VII, but you are Cloud Strife. You're right there in the middle. You're controlling everything. A true FPS. It'd be an RPS, real person shooter. Or any of the other Final Fantasies, Borderlands. Could you imagine Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight. You'd see that hook coming out of your chest. I liked Final Fantasy X. It was interesting. Final Fantasy X-2 was also pretty interesting. You would become a psycho. But, I mean, just the implications for what they could have and how that would interact with everything that we do now would be very interesting. But I think that's what we're going to be slowly moving our way to. As virtual reality becomes more and more seamless and they discover the ability to create an AR, I think we're going to get that. That's what I think, at least. So, it's just going to be one of those, it's going to change and adapt as our technology changes and adapts. And I think we're going to be pushing less towards a world of social interaction and more into a world of other realities. And I hope somebody's making that. Or at least working on it. I mean, obviously, you do have those animes, Sword Art Online. What's that other one I absolutely love? Shit, I just forgot its name. Log Horizon. You've got the people who are going to be worried about getting stuck in a video game, or if you die in the video game, you'll die for real. But I also see a lot of new mental disorders coming out of that, not being able to separate which reality is the real reality. So it's an Inception type of deal. Which one's the real one? So that's why I think it's like 20 years in the future. I don't think anyone's going to commit murder over the internet. Silly. But, yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking, It's just we're going to become the people from WALL-E and live in a life similar to Ready Player One. However, we're not going to have those, we'll probably start with Ready Player One, with the whole, to be able to move, you have to be in this contraption moving you, Actually, those are kind of cool. Have you ever actually seen those VR setups? I guess Ready Player One is all in VR. Okay, so you're in a harness. So you've got maybe 20% body weight actually on the ground. Well, this is not commercial. This is either military VR. I think I've seen it for military VR, or it's just a concept. But you're in a harness, so you're 80%. It's not a treadmill, but it's a treadmill-like. So you've got 360. You're in the middle of a 360 degree. It's not a circle. I don't think the military developed it. I think it's marketed for the military, and it's to probably get some hype for the military. But so you're able to. You've got the goggles on. You can spin 360, but to move, you're actually like running in real time to move. So you've got rollers or a treadmill underneath of you. So as you're running forward, if you're crouching, if you're sliding, you're doing all of that in the enclosure you're in. But it allows for, you're moving, but you're not moving, like a treadmill. It supposedly feels like you're actually running on, like, dirt or something. But, I mean, that's similar to, if you read about or watch Ready Player One, which I recommend reading it. Completely different. Completely different book than the movie. Better, too. But, I think that's one of the first mass, like, huge VR things that'll definitely come out. Absolutely. It's a great book. But, I think that'll be the first thing that'll really come out as we move towards the AR. There are some ads, but it's less commercial, and they could use things that they couldn't in the movie, because you need licenses to. Yeah, I know. They require licenses to show certain things in the movies. And in the book, you don't need a license to write about something. And so, it's a completely different story. They rewrote so much. it's got a much better everything. So, and trust me, I plan on having a podcast about this at some point, but I don't have much of an imagination blast. I have aphantasia. And I'll probably have either a portion of a podcast about it or an entire podcast on about what exactly aphantasia is. Oh, you do have it, Blast? Nice. Hey, Mankeys, do you have aphantasia? Do you know what aphantasia is? Yeah, we can talk about it at some point. Maybe next week or something. Yeah, it is absolutely insane how many of my friends have aphantasia. Okay, Mankeys, you have no idea. Can you picture anything in your head? Can you think of a tree and see a tree? Can you think of a person and see the person? Can you think of a blue sky and see a blue sky? Because I can do none of those. Aphantasia is the inability to make pictures in your head. It's a bit more complex than that, but that's the main thing. Yeah. Blast says, I hate when people tell me to think of a car. Yeah, it's like... Art class was the worst. Alright, guys, I want you to visualize a flower and draw it. What? That's how it always was. Maybe that's why I don't have memories. Well, I have memories, but I have horrible recall of my memories sometimes. Unless they're tied to video games. I have amazing video game recall. I have horrible life event recall. Or studies. I have a horrible memory. Yeah, I don't dream. Either. Let's see. Oh my god, chat's going crazy. Blast says, as a kid, I never had dreams like other kids. Motive says, yeah, a lot of people's memories are highly visual. Blast says, I had nightmares. Motive says, it's different when you lack the visual. I also have nightmares. Frequently. Night terrors. Ugh. It's the only thing creative about me. Ways to scare myself. But yes, I will do a podcast on this at some point soon. So, but I'm going to end this podcast right about here, unless you guys have any more questions, because I need to cut this one and the next one slightly short, because SoundCloud only allows 3 hours worth of recordings in 30 days. So, I gotta trim some time. My bad. I'll figure something out, though. But, yeah. That's gonna be it for the podcast. I forgot to plug once again at the beginning, so I'll do it now. We do these podcasts every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at Twitch at twitch.tv/DJ_funky_fresh. You can check out my YouTube at youtube.com/DJ funkyfreshgaming. And this is also on SoundCloud, Spotify, and I think it goes other places. I don't really know. I haven't looked. I might have. Go find out for me. But if you're on YouTube, you can find a link to several things. If you're on Twitch, obviously you're already here and you know about a lot of things. If you're on Spotify or anywhere else, check us out. You can see the videos and other video gaming. And looks like that's going to be it. So thank you everybody for dropping by this podcast, and I will see you all next time. So until the next time, everybody. Stay funky, people.